Now at 9, Joplin City officials discuss plans to construct a new trail. Plus, a Pineville, Missouri woman charged with kidnapping and killing a pregnant woman is now charged with the unborn child's death. And
the family of Dakota Patton is speaking out against the Neosho district attorney in charge of prosecuting his murder. I'm Anthony Saviello with the story.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. We have the potential for storms and strong winds moving in tonight before a heat wave hits for a few days. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty.
Yeah, we do have a severe threat later on tonight, especially in our southern counties as we get a complex that is going to drive in. So our northern counties, you have the least threat of severe weather. Our southern counties, you have the higher threat to get a little bit of severe weather. Main timing, 11 p.m. to about 3 o'clock in the morning. Also, we're going to be discussing heat. We have heat advisories, which are in effect as we go through the next couple days. Not too much going on out there for us right now, but just to the west, we have this cluster of showers and thunderstorms moving kind of east-northeast, starting to take an easterly turn. And then I think eventually a southeasterly turn. So I think the main target area is going to be northeastern Oklahoma as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Not moving in until about midnight, so it could be a loud night, but some of these could be strong to severe. So of course we're going to break this down, talk about the heat, all coming up in a bit.
See you soon. The city of Joplin tomorrow is going to be opening up some public areas in the city from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. as potential cooling centers for people to get out of the heat. The Joplin Athletic Center, City Hall, Health Department, and Public Safety Center will open. However, guidelines must be followed, such as staying within designated areas and respecting other space. Officials say it's important to stay hydrated, dress appropriately, and minimize direct sun exposure during heat waves. And don't forget your pets. They want pet owners to ensure their pets have access to shade and cool water. The family of a Southeast Kansas murder victim is speaking out about the proceedings in the case and their concerns about the prosecutor, Linus Thurston. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has that story.
On May 8th, investigators arrested Clint and Kimberly Nybarger in the case of the murder of Dakota Patton. The case is now working its way through the court system. However, Patton's family says the man in charge of prosecuting the suspects has a conflict of interest.
Well, he doesn't need to be prosecuting this case. He was in touch with Clint the night that Clint murdered my son.
Dakota went missing in April, and his body was later found in early May in the fields near 20th and Xavier Road here in Neosho County. According to an affidavit filed in the Allen County Court, Thurston was in contact with Finis Garduno, the man who reportedly turned in accused killer Clint Nybarger. Thurston had not only represented Garduno at one point, but Nybarger as well. Patton's mother and the affidavit call into question Thurston's ability to prosecute this case fairly.
Yeah, Linus has represented Clint for sure multiple times. In the affidavit it says he represented him on a DUI, fleeing and eluding, open container. Clint's paid Linus money before, and when they arrested Clint, Linus's contact number was in Clint's phone.
A judge has reviewed the affidavit regarding Thurston acting as prosecutor. The court gave Thurston 14 days from the unsealing of the affidavit to respond. Reporting in Neosho County, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Now, we did reach out to Thurston's office for comment. We have not yet received a response. A Pineville, Missouri woman who was previously indicted for the kidnapping and murder of a pregnant Arkansas woman now faces an additional charge of killing the victim's unborn child. In November, 43-year-old Amber Waterman was accused of taking Ashley Bush from Maysville, Arkansas to Pineville because Waterman wanted to claim Bush's unborn child as her own. The original indictment alleges the kidnapping resulted in Bush's death. Today's superseding indictment also alleges in a new count that Amber Waterman caused the death of a child in utero. Authorities discovered the burned remains of the mother on Waterman's property. The baby was found with Amber Waterman and her husband, Jamie Waterman. The baby was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Both Watermans remain in custody. The indictment alleges that Jamie Waterman tried to help his wife hide the crime and elude authorities. One of two men accused in the death of a Dallas County, Missouri woman entered a guilty plea today. Timothy Norton pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in Cassidy Rainwater's death in the summer of 2021. A judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole. A judge earlier this year gave Norton's co-defendant, James Phelps, the same sentence after he entered an offered plea to similar charges. Cassidy Rainwater was reported missing in 2021. FBI investigators said they received photos from an anonymous source showing Rainwater in a cage. Investigators later found photos of Rainwater on Phelps's phone and eventually discovered Rainwater's skeletal remains. Joplin city officials today gave residents details on a plan to build a new trail along Tin Cup Creek. The Tin Cup Trail will be a pedestrian and bike trail connecting the St. John's Trail to the trails in McIndoe Park along Shoal Creek. It'll be more than a mile long. Construction will be broken into two phases, with phase one designed by city staff. Joplin-based engineering consultant Algeyer Martin and Associates will help with phase two, which could include multiple creek crossings.
So ultimately it serves to connect. We have the Mahaska Trail, connects to St. John's Trail, and ultimately it'll tie into this Tin Cup Trail, which will then tie in down at McIndoe Park. So basically it's kind of a bridge between existing trail systems, and it'll be a really nice trail system along Tin Cup Creek. It'll just be really scenic, kind of walk through the woods, down through.
Grand Falls Trail is the next project to be finished to expand trail connections even more. City of Joplin is asking for your help with a survey related to homelessness in the community. Any residents, business, or property owners are invited to participate in the online survey as the city gathers information about existing offerings and gaps in services for the homeless. Eventually, city leaders hope to use that information to develop plans for addressing the problem. You'll find a QR code linking you to the survey at KOAMnewsnow.com. That survey is going to be open through July 14th. Joplin grade schoolers and preschoolers will soon benefit from new vision screening equipment. The school district says a more than $12,000 grant will cover the cost of two new screeners used to test vision of students in Joplin early childhood and all district elementary schools. The district says its previous screening systems were old and in disrepair. The money comes from the Jean, Jack, and Mildred Lemons Charitable Trust grant. A smaller grant will help fund new furniture and equipment for a lactation room at Soaring Heights Elementary. Coming up, as the temperatures rise, we're going to have some tips on managing diabetes in the sweltering heat. A new study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, researchers found a daily pill called orforglipron from drug maker Eli Lilly helped participants with obesity lose nearly 15% of their body weight over 36 weeks. And a recent study also found the active ingredient in the popular injectable drugs, diabetes drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, could be effective in reducing weight when taken in pill form every day.
All of these medications work by teaching sort of that hormonal axis between the brain and the gut, the way that your brain tells your digestive system, look, you've had enough. It's those hormones that these medications are impacting.
Side effects from orforglipron include vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, and burping. 10 to 17% of participants had to stop taking the drug. Still, experts say the pills in development would be an alternative to those once-a-week injections that are currently available, and they might cost less. Whether they've been diagnosed or not, an estimated 37 million Americans have diabetes, according to the CDC, and summer can be especially hard on people with the disease. Health experts say diabetes may cause a person to feel the heat differently than someone who doesn't suffer from it. Reporter Mandy Gaither talks to a doctor about how to manage diabetes as the temperature climbs.
The temperature keeps climbing, and for the millions who suffer from diabetes, the heat is especially hazardous.
Your body sensation and how it metabolizes or interprets the heat, how it responds to heat, really differs in individuals with diabetes.
Dr. Jesse Bracamonte with Mayo Clinic says it's critical to check sugars frequently when it's hot outside. Soaring temperatures can cause episodes of low blood sugar.
If people have well-controlled sugars and they're active during the day, they may find that their sugars drop Heat actually makes your metabolism speed up and you use a little bit more insulin, and then therefore that sugars may drop.
On the other hand, Bracamonte says the heat can also raise sugar levels if you get dehydrated. He says to drink plenty of water, limit alcohol, caffeine, and other sugary drinks which can lead to dehydration, and avoid going out during the hottest part of the day. When you are outside, dress appropriately with light-colored loose clothing.
Helps your body breathe and really helps to dissipate some of that extra heat that you normally would retain.
Since those with diabetes have to pay special attention to foot health to avoid potential nerve damage or sores, Bracamonte says to not walk outside barefooted this summer.
Heat and the cement and the temperature from the ambient walkway can cause severe damage to your feet, and in some cases put you in the hospital. So appropriate footwear is key.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later a former Crowder College baseball standout is taking part in the MLB's All-Star Futures game.
Well, it turned out to be another warm one for us today. Once we got rid of the clouds by the middle of the afternoon, temperatures, they warmed into the mid to upper 80s across the region. It looks pretty good. Right now, it's actually a very comfortable evening outside until we get some showers and thunderstorms and heat up as we go through the next couple days. 78 right now. It feels like 80. Our dew point is sitting at 61 degrees. We do still have a severe threat as we go through the overnight hours tonight. The greater threat is out to our west. Not much of a threat in our northern counties, but the farther south you work, the greater for severe weather across the region. 11 p.m. to about 3 o'clock in the morning. Main threat is going to be wind. I think tornado, hail, heavy rain threat is going to be decently low. Right now we look pretty good. We just have a few clouds which are shooting through, so we're pretty quiet across the region, but we're watching this small little complex. It's been moving northeast and has turned off toward the east, so it is moving due east right along that Kansas-Oklahoma state line. Very intense. It's got winds gusting near 90 to 100 miles per hour, so very intense little bow echo, which is going to push east. But as it does so, I think it will keep its strength until it gets about south of Wichita, and then as it starts to drive in, it should drop into our southern counties mainly, and it should lose quite a bit of steam as it works through. So that is good news. All right, midnight working into our western counties, so we may get some severe thunderstorm warnings, extreme southeastern Kansas through northeastern parts of Oklahoma. As it continues, it will start to lose a little bit of its steam. So here's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, still heavy amounts of rain, very strong storms, and we could have a few isolated severe thunderstorm warnings, but I think the greater risk is going to be in our western counties. Once we get to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, most of these are going to be gone, and we start to look pretty good by the time we head into the morning hours. All right, rainfall, heaviest is going to be along that Kansas-Oklahoma state line, and then kind of dipping into northwestern Arkansas as this little band works through. So our northern counties, you may not get any rain at all. Then we got to move to the heat. Heat advisory goes in effect as we go into tomorrow afternoon. Big dome of high pressure down to our south, right across central parts of Texas, is going to kind of push in, and it's going to up our temperatures as we go through the next couple days. So once we get rid of the storms tonight, if the clouds can break quick enough, they're still going to be out there around the noon hour, so we'll be upper 80s to near 90. But if they can break enough, we should push 100 by the time we head into the afternoon. We're going to go for an official high 99. 90 at noon, 99 by 5. Southerly winds at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. All right, so we'll make tomorrow an alert day, 104. Heating up on Thursday, heat index pushing 110, 102 on Friday. Some pop-up thunderstorms, but down into the 90s, lower 90s by the time we head into Saturday. And of course, we'll keep you updated on what these storms do later on tonight.
I know you will. You will be here as late as necessary, and then the morning crew takes over. Thanks, Doug. Coming up, 4th of July travel disruptions.
Airline travelers are being warned they could see an increase in delays and cancellations starting this weekend for airlines that haven't completed upgrades ahead of a 5G deadline. I'm Garrett Tenney in Chicago with the details coming up.
Just a week ahead of July 4th, and a lot of Americans are preparing to travel to spend time with loved ones. A new warning from the Department of Transportation cautions getting from point A to point B might not be so smooth. Fox News correspondent Garrett Tenney is in Chicago with the latest.
Across the country, airline passengers faced thousands of flight cancellations Tuesday as powerful storms ripped through the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast.
I'm so sad. I work 7 days a week. I want to be on a beach.
It's sad, especially when you have a little one like I have. It can be frustrating, you know?
But in a matter of days, the Department of Transportation warns airline disruptions could soon get worse. Starting July 1st, planes not retrofitted to handle interference from new 5G wireless signals will no longer be allowed to land when visibility is poor, or typically when weather is bad.
We've made headway. It's headed in the right direction.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the airline industry as a whole is making major improvements, but still has a ways to go, and estimates more than 80% of the U.S. fleet has been retrofitted, while threatening to sanction airlines if more flights are scheduled than can be operated with retrofitted planes.
It's kind of an involved process, but it's not technically that difficult. But when you don't have enough people, it is.
The issue comes on the heels of last week's audit by the Transportation Department that found the FAA lacks a plan to address critical air traffic control staffing challenges.
Without them, we wouldn't be flying smoothly in the air.
In a letter to Airlines for America, Secretary Buttigieg urged airlines that haven't finished the upgrades to adjust their flight schedules and warned that there could be an increase in delays and cancellations. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Hey, good news for inflation-weary 4th of July revelers. The Independence Day cookout is going to be a bit more affordable than it was last year. According to a survey from the American Farm Bureau Federation, families can expect to pay $67.73 for a 10-person cookout. That's down 3% from last year's record high. While it's nearly $2 less this year, it is still the second highest on record. Up next, we're going to learn why this chimpanzee is awestruck about being outside in a sanctuary. All right, so look at this. This 28-year-old chimpanzee is seeing the open sky for the very first time in her life. Look at her, look up. Her name is Vanilla. She was recently rescued by a sanctuary in Florida called Save the Chimps. The group says Vanilla spent much of her life in a cage at a research lab in New York, then in a cage at a different sanctuary in California. The video shows her being welcomed by the other chimps, and the group says she is settling in well. It's good to hear. Welcome, Vanilla Sky. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. The city of Carthage, Missouri votes again on whether to dissolve the Water and Electric Plant Board. Plus, we're going to hear from some local veterans about how fireworks can trigger PTSD. The Carthage City Council tonight voted to increase electric rates by an average of $18 per month. But it was apparently a different utility issue that drew more than 250 people to tonight's council meeting. The crowd was asked how many people wanted the board to stay. An overwhelming majority raised their hands. The council tonight decided to stick with a previous decision to remove the appointed members of the Carthage Water and Electric Board. Council had originally made the decision earlier this month after saying board members were not fulfilling their duties. A lot of citizens attending tonight's meeting were vocal in their support for the board. Still, the council voted 6-4 to stand by their decision.
I'm sure there are still people that are unhappy, and that's not a good thing. But we will continue to try to work through this and return to the being able to work together well, and I feel like we will do that.
A number of citizens left the meeting immediately after the vote. The council had previously said it would appoint new board members as soon as possible. Joplin Car Dealership today donated the gift of warmth. Frank Fletcher Subaru donated 70 blankets to the Freeman Cornell Bashore Cancer Institute for patients. The fluids used for chemotherapy are cold and can leave the body weak and unable to produce enough heat on its own. Officials say these blankets go a long way to making cancer treatment a little less uncomfortable.
Typically in hospital environments and clinic environments, it can be very cold and very uncomfortable. And so to have a blanket to offer to a patient who's already going through a very difficult time in their lives is just priceless.
The Cancer Institute is located at Freeman Hospital West. This is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Day. With the 4th of July right around the corner, veterans who suffer from PTSD start getting anxious for the holidays. Many of them do, as fireworks can trigger the disorder. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has that story.
Stanley Walker was 21 years old when he served in Vietnam. More than 50 years later, he relieves the bad memories from the war every Independence Day.
4th of July is much like a firefight. There's the explosions, there's the colors, there's the voices, there's the smells, there's a lot of trauma that comes back up that you don't deal with throughout the year.
But even though Stanley still deals with the consequences of PTSD every 4th of July, he says the years made it easier.
I just wanted to run away screaming. I just wanted to get out, go somewhere. I wanted to hide, find a hole and crawl into it. For me, it's gotten better. For some people, I know it will never get better. They will die with it, or they will die from it, die because of it.
But Stanley is far from alone. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, PTSD is slightly more common among veterans than civilians. About 7% of those who served will deal with the condition at some point in their lives.
I go to my back bedroom, I turn the TV up as loud as I can, and that's where I stay the whole night. I'm back to where I was, and the friends I've lost. I can actually sometimes see faces of my buddies, and that's really hard.
The only thing missing in the fireworks is people screaming for help.
Military liaison at Ozark Center, Roger recommends veterans to integrate with others who have a similar story and to ask for help if needed. He also has an advice for those interacting with veterans, especially those coping with PTSD on Independence Day.
Be the good neighbor. Be the good family member. If you know a veteran, most of us know at least a veteran. Be understanding, don't be judgmental. Understand what they're going through. Try to keep that in mind.
Go ahead and shoot your fireworks. You're celebrating the freedom of the people of the United States and the founding of the country. We'll deal with ourselves. But if you got a vet next door to you and you've got the big fireworks you're going to shoot off, please find somewhere else to go shoot those off.
Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
For veterans coping with PTSD on the 4th of July, specialists recommend repeating simple reminders like, "This is not a combat zone," as those reminders can help reset the brain during a PTSD trigger. We're hosting a flag swap tomorrow from 11 until 2 at Arvest Bank in Joplin. It's going to be at 2023 East 32nd Street. All you have to do is bring your old, tattered American flag to get a brand new American-made flag free of charge. The American Legion is assisting us in properly retiring those traded-in flags. This is the second flag swap we're hosting. You can find information about others still to come at KOAMnewsnow.com/flag. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed a defeat to GOP leaders in North Carolina. The justices rejected a bid to give state legislatures sweeping authority in drawing congressional maps and regulating federal regulations. The decision is a major victory for voting rights advocates who feared that a ruling adopting the independent legislature theory would wreak havoc on election systems. The much-discussed audio tape of former President Donald Trump that was a key part of the federal indictment over his handling of classified documents is now public. In a remarkable leak, Trump is heard referring to something highly confidential, although he denies any wrongdoing. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more now from Washington.
Isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Mm-hmm. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this.
We're now hearing key evidence in former President Trump's classified documents case. In his own words, the tapes obtained by CNN capture him discussing America's classified Iran attack plan.
This was done by the military, given to me, declassified.
Figure out yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
Prosecutors argue the recording taken 2 years ago at his Bedminster, New Jersey golf club reveal Mr. Trump shared those top secret documents with several people who don't have security clearance. But he defended his actions last week, insisting he was not holding on to classified materials when this conversation was recorded.
But that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories.
Now he's calling the special counsel Jack Smith deranged and accusing Smith of leaking the tape. Trump has already pleaded not guilty to 37 federal counts stemming from his handling of the nation's top secrets, stashing them at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Former President Trump's legal team is scheduled to be back in court in Florida for a pretrial hearing on July 14th. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
A bit later, using technology to improve multitasking.
A new device could turn people into multi-armed cyborgs. I'm Marianne Rafferty. Details coming up.
Well, of course, we're tracking some thunderstorms for us tonight with a severe threat moving into the area, especially after midnight. The lowest threat is going to be in our northern counties. I think the best chance to get any severe weather is going to be in northeastern parts of Oklahoma as we go through the overnight hours. And then once you get to Joplin, a little lower chance doesn't mean we can't, but I really don't think our northern counties are going to pick up much in the way of severe weather. All right, we're pretty quiet right now. We've had some clouds shooting through. This is all just ground clutter, but all of our storms, they're out to the west. And this is a pretty tiny little complex, but it's intense. Look at the lightning that pops up in here. And this little band of storms is getting winds pushing 100 miles per hour. So tremendous wind gusts, but it's very unstable right along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line. Once it passes I-35 and gets closer to us, it's a little bit more stable, so I think these will start to weaken a bit as they start to push in. But look how intense these storms are, and they're not very big, meaning real estate-wise. And also, I think these will take a little bit of a southeasterly turn. So I think the greatest chance for some of these bigger storms are going to be in northeastern Oklahoma. And this is going to be a little later tonight after midnight. Here's midnight getting into our western counties as we go into 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, affecting from Chanute down toward Nowata, not even into the metro yet. Then from 2 to 3, they start to weaken, but we still may get some winds gusting 60, which is severe limits, so we need to watch that. Our northern counties, you may not get really anything at all, and then most of these storms will be out of here by the time you get up in the morning. Heaviest rain will be right along the Kansas-Oklahoma state line into northwestern Arkansas. Farther north you live, very little, if any, rain at all. All right, heat advisory, that's our next story. Heat really kicks in as we go through the next couple days. We have this big dome of high pressure right across parts of Texas, and this is actually going to strengthen and shift off toward the north, and that brings in kind of that heat dome right on top of us. Now, we're going to start the day tomorrow with clouds through the noon hour. Will be about 90. If we can get enough sunshine, we should push 100, most likely hitting 100 in our western counties. I think Joplin's going to be kind of closer to 99, 98 degrees. And then as we go into tomorrow night, pretty quiet. And then once we go into Thursday, this is really when the heat really kicks in. High temps, 103, 104, 105. Plus our heat indices are going to start to climb as well as we go through the next couple days. Heat indices pressing 110 degrees. So make sure if you are going to be outside, drink plenty of fluids. Don't leave any animals in the car or anything like that, or kids. 99 tomorrow, 104 Thursday, 102 Friday. Heat advisory in effect, so alert days. Cool 91 on Sunday.
Wow. In the meantime, people they need to be careful out there.
Yeah.
They need to check on their neighbors.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, a Crowder College alum is going to be participating in Major League Baseball's All-Star Weekend. Plus, Pitt State softball brings in some fresh faces. John Dales has those stories and much more coming up.
Hey, welcome into sports. I'm John Dales. 13 months ago, Jacob Mizorowski was wearing a Crowder College uniform. Fast forward ahead to current day, and he's competing in the MLB All-Star Futures game in Seattle. This comes after Major League Baseball announced the 50-player roster last night, featuring 25 of the best prospects from the American and National Leagues each. Mizorowski is part of the Brewers organization after being selected by them in the second round of last year's MLB draft. And with their high A affiliate, he's been lights out this season, starting 15 games with a sub-3 ERA and 66 strikeouts. Now, the Futures game will be played in Seattle next Saturday. That's July 8th, and features former major leaguers like Adrian Beltre, Jamie Moyer, and Felix Hernandez as coaches. Now, the college softball season might be over, but recruiting never sleeps, and Pitt State head coach Jenny Fuller gives credence to that today by signing 3 transfers to the Gorillas. She hopes they'll be able to help the program continue its upward trajectory. The Gorillas took a big step forward in 2023 with a winning record for the first time in 6 seasons, including an impressive 17-6 record at home. Now, all 3 of the incoming transfers come to Pitt State via fellow Division II schools. Elena Rushing is a career .276 hitter after 2 seasons with Oklahoma Baptist. Sydney Swede brings a ton of experience. She's a 5th-year graduate player coming in from Drury University in Springfield and has played in 123 games with the Panthers with a .312 batting average. Last but not least, Courtney Story transferred to Pitt State from Southern Arkansas after a stop at Crowder College as well. She batted .426 with the Rough Riders and was a 2-time All-Region performer. Meanwhile, we're at the midway point of the summer baseball season here in the 4 states. Last night, both the Mink League teams from the 4-state area squared off against each other in Joplin. The Nevada Griffins won that contest, and tonight they had planned to do it all over again. However, Mother Nature had other plans. Tonight's game in Nevada postponed because of the weather. Good news is these two were already scheduled to play each other tomorrow, so for convenience sake, the Outlaws and Griffins will just play a doubleheader in Nevada. Each game will be 7 innings, and the first end of it gets started at 5. And rounding things out with Major League Baseball, the Royals and Cardinals both in action tonight as well. That trip to London must have done wonders for the Cards. They beat the Astros 4-2 tonight. That makes it 2 victories in a row for St. Louis, 6 of their last 8 as well. Jordan Montgomery, who's had an up-and-down season, well, he was fantastic on the mound tonight. He picks up the win after throwing 6 2/3 innings of 1-run ball. Now, things look just as promising for the Royals tonight, but they give up 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning to Cleveland, a blown save from Scott Barlow, and all 3 runs scored in tonight's game were scored in those last 2 innings. Kansas City looked like they would steal it after scoring in the bottom of the 8th, but they allowed 2 in the 9th. That does it for sports. We are back with more news after this.
In our busy world, it sometimes seems like we don't have enough time to get things done, not enough hands to multitask. Well, Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty takes a look at the unique invention that could solve all our problems.
We've all been there before, when life gets so busy that an extra set of hands doesn't seem like a bad idea. And thanks to researchers in Japan, it could become a reality. A team at the University of Tokyo is working on a new device that can give users up to 6 additional arms. The gadget, worn on the back, has 6 sockets where the arms can be positioned. It also features different types of hands, ranging from a human-like design to a claw. For now, the wearable arms don't function by themselves. Instead, a crew moves the arms on a smaller model of the device, causing the larger arms to follow along.
In Japan, we have a traditional type of puppet theater called bunraku, where 3 people manipulate a puppet. So it's quite similar to that type of remote operation.
But as technology evolves, researchers hope to develop other accessories that can be added to the device.
If in the future you wish to sprout wings from your back or attach a drone, by changing these attachments, you can acquire a range of abilities. I think that could be a possibility.
The team also says their tech isn't just for making life more practical. They hope it can inspire new forms of artistic expression.
I want to see new types of performance using the body, new art forms being created. I'd like to stimulate creativity and accelerate its spread throughout society.
The team is also exploring how their device could be used for speeding up search and rescue operations after natural disasters. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Yeah, I don't think so. Coming up, we're going to take to the skies with a 100-year-old pilot who's still doing what he loves. A North Carolina man spent his 100th birthday doing what he loves, flying. Fox's Zach Perlutsky was at Triple Tree Aerodrome in Spartanburg County for the special birthday flight.
Surrounded by family,
it's pure joy. I love being here, and I'm so happy for Dad.
And friends.
This is a great occasion for me.
100-year-old Uncle John Hartness.
It feels absolutely fantastic. I feel like I'm about 35.
Is celebrating his birthday flying.
Not a single thing I'd rather be doing.
Hartness started volunteering at Triple Tree Aerodrome in Woodruff several years ago.
John's 100 years old and he's still out here 6-7 days a week contributing, mentoring people, volunteering.
Helping spread the nonprofit's mission to ignite and expand a passion for aviation.
He is not only a positive man, a great spirit to be around, but he is also our ambassador.
Uncle John started flying when he was just 16 years old and says there's nothing quite like the feeling of being up in the air.
Flying is the best feeling of freedom you can have, to get up there and be in the air with nobody but me and God.
On board the Triple Tree Aerodrome AirCam, Uncle John had that feeling for 10 minutes on his 100th birthday.
His mother lived to be 100, and she continued playing the piano and doing other things after her 100th birthday. So flying has always been Dad's music. So this is a dream come true.
In Woodruff,
it was a great flight, as every flight is. This is the best one I've ever had. The last one is always the best.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a sloth at the Phoenix Zoo enjoying some birthday treats. Not flying, though. Be careful out there, and let's make it a great tomorrow.